One day I'll have you on the bow of my ship, and I'll race the mermaid to see who's fastest.
If you're hearing our voices, it means it's time for It's This Meets That, the podcast where we watch the worst movies from trailer to end credits, scene by scene, so you don't have to, but maybe you should. I'm Russ.
I'm Jared.
I thought you were just going to stop it like, one day I'll have you in the bow of my ship.
No, I was trying to make it more threatening.
Oh. Okay.
I mean, sexy?
Arr,
and then I'll race the mermaid. We'll see who's the fastest. Maybe you shouldn't be with this guy.
A little creepy, isn't he? All right, so we're back with part 2 of our full breakdown of The Last Merman. What is this movie called?
The King's Daughter.
The Last Mermaid.
Basically, this is like very much The Last Samurai.
Yeah, it's like The Last Samurai meets The Last Mohicans.
Yeah, we should have done that, yeah.
Yeah, The King's Daughter. Yeah, with a bunch of people in it. I don't know.
Yeah, a couple of them are famous.
All right, so I think we just get right back into it, right?
Might as well. Where'd we leave off here?
So we left off with a fancy dinner.
Yep.
And Duke Ledoux and Duke Leduc and Captain Fishman kind of had a little quarrel, a little back and forth, a little word spar. Mm-hmm. And the king was like, silence. And now we're cutting to Marie Joseph's chambers. And she can't sleep. She's having a hard time sleeping.
And she wakes up to Mermaid Song, which it seems like Captain Fishman also hears, possibly, or he's just awake.
I think he's awake and he hears her come down to the super secret basement pool.
Perhaps.
He's like, who's down here? Who's in my basement? And she just goes right in and jumps right into the pool.
Yeah. She's like, well, might as well go swim with the mermaid.
a little midnight. A little midnight swim. Mm-hmm. And then so she's in the pool there. Captain Fishman hears something. He goes down, gets her, pulls her out of the water, and they have a little moment.
Yep. And the mermaid's like, okay. And then swims away immediately as soon as Captain Fishman shows up because he's scared of him.
Yeah.
So then she gets out of the water and they have a stupid line about not being made of stone. And she's like, I'm not made of stone, you know? And he's like, no, I suppose you're not.
Yeah, because he says, you should be more careful. Her tail can cut through stone. And she's like, well, guess I'm not made of stone. I was like, this doesn't... What?
Oh, the dialogue. It
makes no sense. What he's saying is that he can cut through stone, meaning he can cut through you. And she's like, well, I guess it's good I'm not made of stone. What?
He's like, yeah, you're fleshy.
I want you in the bow of my boat.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay, so we're back outside next day, whatever. The Duke is hunting, right? With all of his bros. And then we get Captain Fishman and Marie doing a little horseback riding, catching up. We get some little bit of background to Captain Fishman here. The Duke had him arrested. That's why they
stealing something.
Yeah, that's why they hate each other. Accuse him of stealing, whatever. Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah. But then we get the old school horse racing flirty thing, right?
Yeah. And they're both like, well, we both say what we think. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, we both do. Let's race. Okay. Then they ride around and he compliments her riding. So you can ride, which I guess is a compliment. And she's like, maybe better than you. And he's like, don't get distracted by that gunshot, which she does. And then she bashes into a tree and gets mangled. Fishman picks her up, carries her to the doctor, and
immediately the doctor's like, we got to amputate this shit.
He's like, her arm is badly broken. Afraid we're going to have to amputate. And you're like, wait, what? And he's like, well, standard procedure. Oh, right. It is the 1600s. I forgot.
Right. The king took a gunshot to the shoulder earlier, and
yeah. And she's like, priest, can you save my arm? And he's like, He's like, I wouldn't cut it off.
Can't we wait till tomorrow morning to see how this works? Take a couple aspirin.
Yeah, and the king rolls up then and he's like, what are we talking about? Cutting her arm off? No, wait till tomorrow morning. at the very least. And her arm is hilariously mangled. Like the way like for having a $40 million budget, like we said earlier, they put $0 into making any of the effects look good.
Yes. No.
It's like a mannequin arm on the bed that you can see. That's like very clearly a mannequin arm. It's like they like painted with some like purple spots, and they're like, look, it's all mangled. Do better.
Yeah. So the king shows up, and then he's like, existence is pain, and says some other soothing words, and then that's the end of the scene, I think, right? And then we cut to the basement pool.
Yep.
And we got Captain Fishman. He's doing some knife tossing.
Yeah. What? Oh, yes. Famous sailor skill, throwing knives.
And then mermaid comes up. She glows, right? And maybe says something to the captain there, Captain Fishman.
Yeah, it seems like it.
He has an idea.
Yeah.
Quick cut. Man, the cuts are so real.
She's like, look at my life force.
Yeah, and he sneaks up to Marie's chambers, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, guess what? The mermaid wants to help you. Yay.
So come and knock on our door.
We're back in the basement pool. He drops her in the water. Mermaid does a big light show in the pool. She's all better.
Yep. I'm glad you just glossed over that, because it is what it is. Yeah.
We get a quick transition shot of the palace, and then we are in King's Court, and she's healthy and she's jamming out with their new band.
Yeah. Well, before that, I got a George and Tammy ad. You know what George and Tammy is? I
do not.
It's some show, it seems like, that I was kind of interested in after the ad. I was like, oh, interesting. It's got Jessica Chastain in it, and I don't know, other people that are presumably famous, but it's like it's like I don't know if it's a biopic or what, but it's like about some country music power couple. It's a whole thing. It's supposed to be very good. And then I got another Magic Mixie's crystal ball.
And it's like right at this point, we're probably at the halfway mark.
Yep, exactly.
So we get a quick transition shot of the palace, the palace.
Yeah, like very obvious CGI Versailles. And you're like,
yes.
If you film there, take a picture of the outside.
Just take a picture.
Why would you do this? It looks so bad.
And then we cut to the king's room, right?
Yeah, and he's like, how could she have healed so quickly? I guess she's capable of anything.
And the doc's like, here's proof the mermaid has power. And he's like wiggling her arm around. Like, see, look, it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Like, yeah. I was surrounded by light. I could breathe underwater. And basically the priest is like, this is a fable. Like, what are you talking about? And the doctor's like, well, everything's a fable until proven real. No, that's not true.
I think fables by definition are made up.
Yeah, what? And then finally now is when the daughter here is starting to understand the plot of the movie.
Yes.
She's like, wait a second.
She's like, what's the plan?
Yeah. And so then they explain that the mermaid is here to serve the court. She's going to heal
France.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Right, heal France.
Yeah, right. And she's like, cool. Well, when she does that, you'll be sealed into eternity, and then she gets her freedom, right? I remember they cut to the doc's face, and he's like, whoa. Yeah, about that.
Mm-hmm. He's like, you're the most wonderful and generous monarch ever. And he's like, yes,
yeah.
I am the king, yes.
Yeah, and Father Hurt's kind of like, oh, man. The king's like, yes.
Yeah, her life will be what God intended. You're like, I was like, what?
Classic. Yeah, she'll get what God has intended.
She'll get what's coming to her.
I mean, what God intended. Classic. Get yourself out of a pickle, line right there, huh?
It's so bad. The dialogue's so bad.
It's what's God's will intent. Mm-hmm. Can't argue with that, now, can you?
No.
It's a tough one.
Wouldn't dream
So we're outside. Marie and the fishman chatting. He's a bit more realistic about the situation. He's like, you're being naive.
Yeah. She's like, nah.
No, the king will do good. And then she's like, I'd love to see the world someday. And he's like, nah, you won't. And then he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that.
Yep. Meanwhile, the Duke is like boating around in the fountain.
Like a paddle boat.
Yeah, like, what's happening? And they're like, his wife, woman, unclear, is like, well, rumor has it the mystery girl has ties to the king. He's like,
yeah.
What kind of ties? And she's like, No one knows.
That's why it's
Way
a
to be
mystery.
helpful. Get
That's
the
why
fuck
it's
out
a
of my boat.
mystery.
You're not helping.
It's also like, can no one figure this out? It's either mistress or daughter or composer of the throne.
Yeah, if I had a nickel for every time Russ said, well, she's either her mistress or the daughter.
She had a tiara earlier, but then like the way he's acting around her seems a little weird, you know? So it could be, I don't know. But she's also the composer of the court, so I don't know. People are stupid. All right, so then they're hanging out in Captain's Tower there, right? That's where him and his buddy chill. Is that what this is? Wasn't there some tower they're hanging out in? He's like, oh, that's where me and my buddy hang out.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. They're hanging on some tower and they're talking. Right.
Yeah, she brings him to a lighthouse. They're like walking around.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought it was his house. I was like, does he live in a weird lighthouse?
Yeah. I think it is.
Yeah. And she's like, yeah, like I want to sail into the sunset. And he's like, yeah, me too. And she's like, wouldn't it be great if like the mermaid could go back to her world and I could go with her?
What?
And he's like, wait, yeah, you had me until wait a second. And she's like, well, not really. I don't want that. But like, I would swim in her light. You're like,
what?
What?
Why is this happening right now? What is happening?
And that's when you get the vaguely threatening, one day I'll have you on the bow of my ship and I'll race the mermaid to see who's the fastest. And she finds that sexy, I guess.
I don't know. Yeah.
Who cares?
And then we get the old classic, come with me. There's something I want to show you. And it's in their fancy gazebo. That's what our buddy Benny Walker, he loves his gazebos. That's what he made in the choice.
He does love a gazebo.
I mean, it is a fancy one, but basically it's a gazebo. And then that's it, right?
Well, then they kiss.
Yeah, then they kiss. And it's okay.
Who cares?
King's room.
Yep. The future Duke here is visiting, and they're like, well, we each need a favor from each other.
Yeah.
Except for the Duke never gets to ask his favor.
No, he doesn't, because the king's like, no, hold on. Let me speak first.
Me first. I'm the king.
And he's like, I want you to accept my daughter's hand in marriage.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was really confused. Like, so does he know who his daughter is then?
No.
So like, why would he be all excited? Like, no one knows you have a daughter. Like, unless it's
1600s France.
It's like, does he have other daughters?
He's like, fuck yeah, king's daughter. I'm gonna marry the shit out of her. I don't care what she is or who she is. It doesn't matter.
He's like, wait a second, you have a daughter?
Yeah, all over that.
And then Father Hurt's hanging out. Well, no, then it does the weird cut to.
Then it does it
does the weird cut thing where like all of a sudden Father Hurt's there, and it's like basically the next same scene, but the other guy's not there. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and he's like, do you think that she loves that guy? And she's like, well, I guess you don't care. Like, basically the king doesn't have any lines in the scene. The priest is just like, does he love her? Well, it doesn't matter, I guess. You only care about yourself. Like, what?
I don't. What the fuck, man? All right. So then, is there anything else in there?
No. Okay. William Hurt, what have you done?
I know. All right. So we're back in the basement pool.
Mm-hmm.
Cave of Batman here. All right. So she goes for another swim, and mermaid takes her for a piggyback swim.
Yep. She called to her. They do a bad CGI swimming montage.
Mm-hmm.
It's very frustrating.
We're back outside, Marie and Magali going for a walk.
Yeah. And she's like, I never knew I could feel like this. Something amazing has happened.
And then Father Hurt shows up and he's like, the king's asked to see you.
Mm-hmm.
And then we cut to the king's office. And then this is where we get this is where it gets laid on thick here, right?
Remember the woman in the fountain? Like, yeah. Sometimes I think you are her. And I was like, ew. And then he's like, it was your mother. And she's like, what?
Here's a little picture of her. He gives a little thing. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, she was an individual. Wasn't made for court life. Here's a locket of what she looked like, I think. Yeah. And then she died giving birth. She
left the convent before he knew she was with child. She died in childbirth. Yep. Then he goes on to admit that he's been selfish and cared more about France and then caring about her mother, right?
Yeah. And he's like, "You're my father?" He's like, "Yes." And this is when I was like, I thought we knew this the whole movie.
Yeah.
So why is this a reveal?
Yeah.
There was no tension built up around this.
No. It's like we as the audience knew this.
It's called The King's Daughter. The movie is called that, idiot.
There's no surprise here. So then it gets really intense here, right? And this is where we find out where he gets really intense. He's like, we're surrounded by lies and treachery, and we're basically out of money.
The treasury is empty. It's like, and basically, he starts calling her child a lot out of nowhere. And he's like, we need the money from the Duke, child.
Yes.
And she's like, I won't marry that man. You don't have to agree, child. You have to obey. And she's like, of course, Majesty. For all France. Dramatic music.
And then we get her doing a slow-mo run down the hallway, and she collapses. She's crying. She collapses, and there's like a weird sound effect when she fell. I was like, why are they doing this sound
hilarious effect? The use of slow-mo is wicked funny in this movie.
Yes, it is. It is very hilarious. Magali then shows up there. She's just there.
Yeah, this is also a runner-up for the quote for this episode. I prayed every night as a little girl for a mother and father, and now I wish my prayers were never answered.
Cool. Yeah. And then that's it. We are in the king's room.
Well, because Magali just goes, well, you get what you get, and you don't get upset. It's like kind of her attitude, and I love it. Well, there's a couple of scenes in this movie where like the character, like she's complaining about something, and another character's just like,
well, sorry, king's daughter. We can't all be a king's daughter.
Way she goes sometimes. Am I right? Way she goes.
And then we get a quick moon transition there, and we cut to the king's room. He's hanging out by the fire, crackling fire. And he's having thoughts of He's having thoughts of his daughter, and kind of like, oh, maybe I've done her wrong, you know. Mm-hmm. Glimmers of him having a redemption, right?
Then we get ads where I love my favorite Australian guy here, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Bundaberg ginger beer, like great for having a yarn about the year that was." You're like, what? And then they never say Bundaberg, which is my favorite.
I don't know. Maybe I did get. I don't know. I didn't see these at all.
This is when I figured out it was ginger beer. Then I got another Vaseline. Then I got a Subaru, and then a Geico.
Oh, mixing it up.
Yeah, like mine are very varied. I'm surprised you got the same one every time.
I might have. Maybe they mixed it up, but I don't remember Vaseline. I remember car commercials, and that was it.
Yeah.
So, all right. So then we're back in the cave, cave pool.
Should I drink Bundaberg?
If you can get it.
It's kind of fun to say. And then down to the nightclub.
All right. So we're back in we're down in the club here, the pool. Father Hurt comes down, check out the mermaid. He says some stuff, and he's like, you understand things, don't you? And then that's it. All right, and then we go back to the king's office, right? And then we have another Father Doc face-off here, right? A lot of church versus science action going on here.
The mermaid has touched the core of my being. You're like, ugh.
What?
Don't. Yeah. What do you do with the mermaid? Yeah. Then they talk about the soul a bunch, like you said, and apparently this whole quest for immortality is going to condemn him to eternal damnation. Which,
yes, if you kill an intelligent
classic,
being, right? Yeah,
been there before.
Yeah, the doc is like, back off, man. I'm a scientist.
We've all been there. Well, he literally says, "Worry about your own soul and stay out of my way." What?
Okay. Right. Worry about your own soul, but you make like a tree and get out of here.
If I wanted your soul opinion, I would have asked.
Okay, so we're back in Marie's room, right? Mm-hmm. And she escapes out the window, heads to the mermaid, and then we're back into... Well, because we should note that she's guarded now. Like, her bedroom is guarded, right?
Right. Yep. Exactly.
As per King.
Which, it's like the mermaid is calling to her. She goes to the window. She hears the mermaid. So then she immediately goes to the door to leave. And she looks out. She sees the guard. And then she's like... and, like, closes the door on the guard and, like, goes... And then escapes out the window. And you're like, wait, what? Wouldn't the guard be like, hey, where are you going?
Wait a second here.
Like, maybe I should have a look.
Like a bad video game NPC character.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like you have 3 seconds before they realize that you're there.
Huh? Oh, there's nothing here.
If I closed the door fast enough, he didn't see me. Like, what?
Oh my God. So now we're back in the cave and she goes for another swim, right? Mm-hmm. And this is where the mermaid gets her little, like a flashback.
Yeah, the mermaid is agitated.
Yes. And she jumps in the water. And then we get a flashback to how she was captured. We get a little more because we learn that the mermaid had a little child handed off to another mermaid.
Yeah. It's confusing.
It's basically, it was really confusing. But it's the opening of when they went to go capture her. And then, and then it's a vision, and then that was it.
Yep. Then she goes up to the surface and she's like, and
then we cut to the doc's office, and the doc is like, the mermaid is in peak condition.
What a weird way to refer to anything.
Yeah, right.
Yes. Peak condition for the procedure.
Peak condition.
Yes.
I am not in peak condition for this procedure.
Yeah. And the priest is like, I can't be silent about this any longer. Yeah. And King Pierce Brosnan's like, how unlike you. And he's like, you're contemplating the greatest mortal sin of all.
Yeah.
Then there's the whole thing about science being not absolute. Yeah. Like this, I'm like, weird stuff, especially.
It's a weird argument, and it's and then King Pierce Brosnan there, King Louis there, he gives like the classic, like how to end a religious argument is like, well, if I'm committing eternal sin, why hath God strike me down right now? Oh, we didn't do it. It's like, well, I think you're kind of missing Father Hurt's point here, but yeah, okay.
Yeah. So you see, if I get eternal life, that's God's will. And
you also haven't. Like, it's like you also haven't committed the mortal sin yet, because you haven't killed the beast. So once you then you might get struck down by lightning. But anyways,
yeah. So instead, the priest Mike drops the Chinese cross thing,
hands in his cross and badge.
Yeah, and he's like,
I'm done. I'm off this force.
Too old for this shit.
Too old for this shit. And then we carry on. And then there's like some pop song starts playing
to the music number.
It's like, what is happening? So we're in a church and it doesn't fit. So like some pop song's playing, and we're back in like the church court, whatever this is, and the father's there doing some prayers, Yeah. And then Marie shows up and she's doing some praying.
Yeah.
End scene.
Thunder. a lot of thunder because it's dramatic.
Right.
I think, right?
I think so. And we bounce back to the doc's office. Oh man.
Before that, I guess you're right. It's the fish man at the doctor's office.
Yes. Yeah. Fishman and his buddy sneaking into the doc's office nighttime, right? They're looking for like something.
Yeah, they're like looking through like anatomy drawings, basically. Yeah, they're like, what the fuck is this guy into?
This guy's into some weird shit.
Do you think he fucks fishes?
I think he fucks fish, man.
Probably, man.
The actual conversation that happened is
Benoit's like,
vomits all over the table. No, man, you're making too much noise. But he's fucking fish, man. That's weird.
So then they're like, wait a second, they're going to kill her. I got to warn the princess. And you're like,
she's in another castle.
What?
So we're back in the basement cave. Oh my God. Marie says something to the mermaid. It doesn't matter.
Tomorrow dawns a new age for all but us. And you're like,
what?
What does that mean?
All but us. Oh, yeah. Okay.
No, it's
no.
I think they're taking the eclipse as like a thing, and I think they're talking about, she's gonna die, and so therefore the new age is maybe when you have an immortal French king, I guess.
Well, tomorrow's a new day for everyone else, but we already know our fate, so maybe it's that.
Man, it's frustrating.
Okay. All right, so we're back in Marie's room / hallway situation here, right? And there's the guard outside of her door, and we got Captain Fishman and his buddy. He's like, "Yo, go create a diversion."
Yeah. And so the Benoit just like kicks the guard in the nuts, basically. It's like, ha!
Yeah, and the guard's like, "Hey, get back here!"
Ow!
Ow! Owie!
And then that's when the fishman realizes that the princess isn't here.
He's knocking away. He slips the plans for the mermaid underneath her door, though. But then the doc catches him. He's like,
Ooh, you're in trouble.
Got you, motherfucker. And then so he gets thrown in a cell.
He literally says, sneaking around the room of the king's daughter is a capital offense. You're like, what?
Yeah, done. Lock him up.
What does that mean?
And he's like not even in her room. He's in the hallway. So
he's like standing in the hallway, and they're like, standing in the hallway outside of the king's daughter's room is a capital offense.
I think maybe he was implying that that's what he's gonna tell the king.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
So he's setting him up, but yeah, it's dumb. Just be like, throw him in a cell and call it a day.
Yeah.
So he's in the cell, and then Marie returns to her room. She sees the plans that Captain Fishman slid underneath the door, and she's like, oh, no, the truth. And then next morning, right?
Yeah.
No music.
There's no music.
Yeah, music. Marie shows up and she goes ape shit.
Yep. Smashing instruments left and right.
Doing a good old grunge, concert. Just smashing guitar, smashing harps.
Badass. Yeah.
No music.
Yeah. And then she complains, "You cannot kill the mermaid. I won't let you." And the king's like,
we're back in the king's room now. Yeah.
Won't let me?
I'm sorry.
Excuse me?
I'm sorry. Everyone in this room that's a king, raise their hand.
Sorry, who's appointed by God to lead France?
72 years at throne. I mean, come on.
Yeah, you dumb, get out of here.
So they got a big argument about murder, and then and he's not having it, right? And
well, she tries to do bargaining, and she's like, well, if you send the mermaid back out to sea, I'll consent to the marriage. He's like, I don't give a shit. You don't need to consent to anything. Who cares? You're not a person. What does it matter?
I made you a person twice.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's like, that's your pet. And who cares?
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want this for me. You think I want this for my own immortality? You think I want to live forever? The burden of living forever? No, France needs a leader who can protect her. I'm not doing this for me. It's for all France.
All of France. And she starts she's still being mouthy, and he's like, silence. And she's like, silence, father.
Yeah.
Whoa.
He's like, you don't get how this works still.
Yeah.
That's the wedding is today. Get pretty. Be ready.
Musketeers?
Assemble. And then he walks out.
And actually 3 musketeers come in. 3 musketeers actually walk in the room. So
That's right.
Just a candy bar.
I thought they were mouseketeers.
Yeah, it's not a Disney movie. All right, so then you got a commercials?
Yeah.
I guess I did too, but
have you heard of Steelcase?
No idea what that is.
It seems like they make office chairs. I was like, why am I getting all of these? This is very confusing. Then York peppermint patties.
Love a good York peppermint patty.
Gillette razors with Josh Allen. I was like, what?
I think I might have gotten that one, actually.
They're like, do you like being clean shaven like the Bills? What?
I'm in New England, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then Crest white strips.
So basically, they want you to shave and brush your teeth.
I guess it seems like it.
Stay fresh. Stay minty fresh.
What are you trying to say here, commercials? You saying that I have poor posture, that I should sit in a better chair?
They're like, sit down. We got to tell you something.
I mean, kind of. And all of the commercials that I got were all like weirdly surreal too. Like the Steelcase one is like really bizarre, and then the York peppermint patty one, it was it was a little girl like clawing at a giant human-sized peppermint patty. What? And the dad walks in and goes, "Sweetie, your mom's in the peppermint zone right now. Don't bother her." And it's like, what? What's happening? I am not on enough drugs for this.
I guess I should have paid attention to the commercials. I don't know. I feel like I still just got car commercials, but
yeah, I got a bunch of weird ones. I was very excited.
Oh man! So then we're back at the
palace.
Yeah, we're back at the king's court here. I think, right? Back at the palace.
Everyone's just walking around in slow motion.
Yeah, and we get Captain Fishman, and he's being led by a couple musketeers there, and he's like, "Wait a second, who's getting married?" And they're like, "Marie to Duke Ledouche."
Grow up.
Ugh, boring. And then we cut to her quarters, right? Magali and Marie are chatting.
She rips up the picture that her daddy drew.
Yeah, and then I hate my daddy. And then she's like, "Wait a second, I have an idea." And she asks for the priest.
Yeah. Right? I have a confession. I've got another confession to make.
We cut to the doc's office, I think, again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like basically telling Captain Fishman, do as you're ordered or you lose your life.
Drain the water.
Drain the water. Then we're back at the king's court.
Yeah.
King looking really kingly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we cut to Marie's quarters again. Like, this is so rapid fire.
Yes. Basically, the princess is trying to make the argument to the priest that, don't you think daddy would understand if we explained what's happening? And he's like, No.
No.
He's like, at this point, the king would rather damn his soul than save it.
Yeah,
Like,
I've tried to go with, he's like, I tried to go with the church angle here, the God angle, and that didn't work. So
she's like, help me. And he's like,
so about that, I kind of handed in my cross and badge.
Right. And then out of nowhere, he's just like, well, I guess our reasons might be different, but the mermaid has to escape, which is from the trailer.
And then he's what? Like, no one's going to believe you you're going to a wedding dressed like that. So we have a quick Magali and Marie getting a moment where they're prepping for the wedding, right?
Quick makeover.
Yeah. And this is a weird, that's right. This is a really weird cut too. So he leaves, quick jump to like 1 second shot of them getting prepped for the wedding. She's now dressed. I guess it's supposed to show time has passed. And then he shows back up again, right?
Yeah.
And
before that, they have a little goodbye between the two of them. Magali, she's like, my dearest Magali, you've been a true friend. I'll miss you greatly.
This is the last we see of Magali, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's right. You're the one who told me about trauma and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then the priest shows up again.
Yep.
And he tells the guard, he's like, hey, I'm here to, take the Marie to confession, whatever. The guard's like, I
don't think so.
Father Hurt's like, are you going to challenge me?
I'm the priest, bro. Then we get a weird slow-mo reveal of her dress, which looks horrible.
Yeah.
Is it supposed to be like a pretty dress? Because she looks hideous.
Supposed to be a princess, Jared.
Yeah, lame as hell.
And then we're back outside.
There's no lines. Yeah, they all just kind of like stare. They do this a couple times in the movie too, where like they do like a slow-mo thing that you expect is like a build-up to something. And then they all just stare at each other, and then they cut the scene.
Yeah. And then, and then we're back outside. We got Father Hurt and Marie now walking, right?
I hate this scene so much.
And she's like, this is a kiss I thought I'd give to my father.
Ew.
Yeah. Kiss him on the cheek, whatever.
Yeah.
And he says,
like, God has graced you with Red Bull. I only hope you know how to fly.
And then she does a slow-mo run downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I guess we don't need, that's it. So then we're back in the fucking basement pool here. Man, this movie is really bad.
So choppy.
Oh, it's so all over the place. It's like, give me a headache trying to fucking parse this. So then we get the
Hoist
bros.
the net!
Yeah, we get the bros loading up the mermaid, right? Mm-hmm. And she comes down and...
Benoit's doing all of the work here, by the way.
Yeah, and then Captain Fishman, he's just like, she's showing up now? Ugh. And she basically just follows him around trying to convince him to let the mermaid go, right?
Mm-hmm. She's like, don't do this. And he's like, I do what I'm told.
Yeah. And he's like, nah. And then she delivers the big, convincing line. I could never marry a man I didn't love. Oh.
Yeah.
I guess. And then he's like, all right, I'll help you.
No,
right?
So
is there anything she says before that? Like,
kind of. So she's basically like, you stole her from her family. You got to return her. He's like, you're asking me to face the gallows if I do that, if I disobey the king.
Yeah.
And he's like, so no. And then she's like, well, you're no better than the king then. And then because when she first walks in, she goes, the king can't sentence you, which made no sense when she said it, when she walked in.
Yeah.
And now he's like, you said the king can't sentence me?
Yeah.
And that's when she says, I'd never marry a man I do not love. And you're like, how are you supposed to get that from the king can't sentence you? Like,
yeah.
What? Of course he could, I'm sure he could sentence his daughter's husband to death also because he's a fucking king.
He's still the king.
What? You said the king can't sentence me? You're like,
yeah,
I was so mad. I threw my phone. I was like, I don't understand. Very upsetting.
Yeah.
And so he's like, all right, well, everybody out then. In that case, let's do that thing.
They got a plan. He's like, all right, bros, grab the ship. I'll meet you over by the cliffs of Dover. And that's it.
Cross the Rainbow Bridge and we'll see you when I see you.
Yeah. Then I don't know if there's nothing left there. We just cut to the doctor's office, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the guard's like, oi, girl escaped. And the doctor's like, you bungling idiot!
You moron. And we're back in the basement pool. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like our big action scene, isn't it? No, not yet.
Almost, yeah.
Almost,
this is when we see the eclipse is starting, kind of.
Yep, eclipse is starting. And then
apparently we need to drain all of the water from all of Versailles in order to power the underground river that we'll use to escape the.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
we
confused.
get the rehash of and Captain Fishman explains to her now,
Right.
and in turn re-explaining to us how this is all going to work. So remember that gate in the underground river mentioned earlier? That's how we're going to get her out. And he says something about the pipes. I didn't understand either, but
The pipes might not hold. You're like,
well, I think it was because there
what?
was, well, I think what they need to do is they need to kind of flood the space so she could get up and over and out from where the gate was.
I
So
think that's right.
they need to drain the water and then have it flood down there so then she could swim out.
I think that's correct. Like, well, we gotta tell the fish girl, and she's like, don't worry, she understands everything.
Yeah, and then
that's convenient for the plot.
Yes. And then the valves, right, lower the water pressure, so all the fountains in the court like all lose their water. Ha ha ha.
Yeah. Well, before that, it's even stupider because the mermaid, like, after she's like, she understands everything, she like tail splashes them, and they're like, now we're all wet, and then they kiss.
Yeah.
And then it's like, yep, all right, well, let's drain Versailles.
Let's do this.
Okay.
So then so the fountains die. We're still down there. So then the Doc and some of the musketeers show up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we get the classic, stop them, don't let the creature escape. And then the first thing one of the guys does is take a shot at the fucking mermaid.
Bow, bow. And you're like, wait, what?
And the Doc is like, easy, you moron. We need it alive.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, great.
So then,
this is the action scenes. Yeah, we get some swashbuckling, right?
Then they shoot Captain Fishman when he survives also. Like, it's like the opening scene, kind of.
Well, then Captain Fishman and Doc fight in the bridge there. They kind of like wrestle, and there's a gun. And
no, before that, they shoot the Fishman. Like, the guy who shot the mermaid shoots the Fishman, and he's like, oh. You're like,
oh, so he gets two shots on him?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, I missed that one.
Like, he's dead as hell.
Yeah, and then he takes a second shot then from the Doc while they're wrestling on the bridge, and they both fall in the water. Yeah. There's some blood that pops up. I missed that first shot.
Yeah, it's so stupid. He's like, ow, and then like you see everyone's like, oh no. Like, what? And then they wrestle, and then he's like, oh, we're grappling for the gun here. Who's gonna get shot? Well, spoilers, it's the Fishman.
I mean, we all knew he was going to get shot because the mermaid's okay, let's have someone else to save here. All right, so then Marie's, the body's in the water, and then Marie's like calling for Captain Fishman. She's like, where are you? And then hilariously in the background, you see the Doc like on the, like sneaking up behind her.
Yeah.
He's coming up with the, what are those fucking things called? The water.
Water wheel?
Water wheel? Yeah, sure, that works. So then they fight. Marie gets some good kicks in on the Doc, right?
Yeah, and just like knees him in the balls, and
first,
he's like,
that's
oh,
right in the mommy and daddy buttons.
She's like, mermaid, jump! Wait, what? And then, like, out of nowhere, the doctor gets like caught up in the rope, and he's like, wait, what?
No.
She like tosses the anchor that's attached to his rope overboard from this platform that they're on, and he's like,
but he gets pulled in the water. Well, only halfway though. He doesn't go all the way under.
Right.
But then that's it. That's all we see.
It doesn't matter. Yeah,
it doesn't matter. And then Marie keeps telling the mermaid, "Hey, you got to make the jump. You got to jump. You got to jump." So mermaid makes the jump. The mermaid does have Captain Fishman with her, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And they escape. Whew. Man, that was not exciting.
No. Then I get an ad for a TV show called Sprung. And another Magic Mixies ad where you're like, the power of magic's in your hands. You summon real mist to reveal the Mixies that you created.
Oh, I want some of these things. These sound awesome.
I want a Magic Mixie now for Christmas.
Okay, I'll get you one, buddy.
Hint, hint.
Listeners.
Yeah, hint, hint, listeners. I'll send you my address if you send me a Magic Mixie.
Okay, so then we're back in... Well, she escapes she's riding on a horse, right? And then that's right. She makes an escape via horse, and then the eclipse is happening. It's getting very dark, right?
Yeah.
I mean, cut to like the king's court of the church, I thought it was, but no, it's his spot where he kind of gives whatever. Anyways, doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. King's informed the girls escaped. And I think the king kind of, they were going to get married. This is the wedding spot, right?
Yep.
Because Duke LeDuc is there, and the father's there, and King comes over the edge, and he's just like, gives the father a look, Duke Ledoux, she's kind of like, what's happening? And the father's like, my job's done here, and he just walks away.
Wait, did we already gloss over the part where the mermaid comes by the aqueduct and the little girl's like, "Mama, a mermaid," and the mom's like, "You idiot, mermaids aren't real."
I think it's coming up. I think that's like
coming up? Okay.
That's the thing that happens right now. But yeah, you can go for it, lead right into, like, yeah. So they're escaping through the rivers there, and yeah, that happens.
It's stupid. Yeah. Mom, look, a mermaid. You dumb. Mermaids don't exist. That's just a fish.
Yes. Giant fish.
Like the whole plot of this movie is that mermaids exist.
Yeah.
Very frustrating.
So then the king and the men are chasing after Marie. They're all in slow-mo horse riding, right?
Right, exactly.
Oh man, this is
and the
so much.
eclipse is eclipsing meanwhile.
Yep, they're all riding, chasing.
This is when we come upon the cliffs from the trailer, right?
Yes. And well, just before that though, is this where she basically does a glowy thing for Captain Fishman?
Maybe
I may have cut some stuff out of here, but anyways, it's cutting between the king and the musketeers chasing after Marie on horseback, cutting between that and then the mermaid and Captain Fishman escaping.
I don't think they show her healing the Fishman. I think it's implied. I don't think they show it. Do they?
Well, what they show is basically the golden glowy thing. They don't show him in the middle of it, but they just show him that she's doing it, and you assume that it's for him. You
assume it's him. Yeah. Yep.
But it's real quick, and it's like, she's healing him.
Yeah.
More slow-mo horse riding. There's no branches out here because it's open field, so you don't have to worry about Marie getting hit.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get the shot from the trailer of the cliffs there, right?
Yep, exactly. Yep.
And then Marie comes up to the edge, right?
Yep. And it's like a weird rainbow. You're like,
yeah. What?
Why? What does that add to this scene?
Yeah.
Like, guys, then, we told people it was going to be a fantasy kids movie, but throw a rainbow in there or something. I don't know. Kids love that shit.
Kids love rainbows. I love rainbows too.
Yeah, who doesn't? But I guess that is when they show you the navy that's blocking the escape boat, right?
Yes. We forgot to mention, but the king, before he goes on the horseback, he's like, pull in the ships and don't let them escape. And get the musketeers and let's ride.
Yep.
So then this is where the king catches up to her. She's on the edge of the cliff. They have a chat, right?
Yep.
And the king starts
eclipsing.
He like starts to seem like he's trying to be fair, right? And he's like trying to explain something to her, and he's like, "No, you." She's like, "You don't understand." And he's like, "Oh, well, then tell me."
Right.
Okay. All right. He's being reasonable.
Yeah. And she's like, "The only opportunity I ever wanted was to be someone's property." He's like, "What?" "The mermaid's my greatest friend." And he's like, "What?" That's like, I've missed so much.
What has happened?
"I found a father, but he doesn't care about anyone but himself." He's like, "Well, I get that."
So you're telling me the mermaid's is more of a BFF than Magali, who...
Yeah. The mermaid's a better father than me?
What is happening? Do you guys believe this? The musketeer's like, I don't believe there's even a mermaid, man. Yeah, this is kind of weird.
Just shoot her.
Just shoot her. Can we just end this? Just shoot her. And he's like, well, give me a chance.
Yeah.
So then she looks down. She sees Captain Fishman. He's safe. He's swimming in the water, which is very far down. So I wouldn't have been able to see that. I'd be like,
hello.
Hello. I'm all right. Eclipse is happening very dramatically. And then she gives the king an ultimatum, right? She's like, basically like, save me or yourself. Right.
Yeah. And she like dangles the locket over the cliff. She's like, look, I'll do it. I'll drop the locket. And he's like, what?
Go for it. Drop it.
I don't get it.
That is not a threat to me.
Then she jumps though. And the king's like, no. She belly flops like 100 feet.
Yeah. And it's like the goofiest jump off the cliff. Like,
like she's definitely dead. Right.
Yeah. She hits the water. She's dead. So then the musketeers are like, hey, we got a clean shot. And there's this tense moment of like, do they take it? Will he say, take the shot? And he says, stand down.
Well, meanwhile, Eclipse is still eclipsing. We're at like peak eclipse, just about
peak eclipse. He tells him to stand down. Whew. Captain Fishman and Marie find each other, right, in the water, in the ocean there.
Yeah. And the mermaid sees that the king is like, stand down, and she's like, thanks, bro.
You've redeemed yourself. You found the errors of your ways, the ways of your errors. So then thanks. And then they swim towards the ship. Then we get a little Father Hurt and King Brosnan, Pierce Brosnan chat here.
Like, well, at least I saved the princess.
You've always been a good king. Now you're a good man. King is like, signal the ships to retreat. I give up.
And then they have a guy like doing jumping jacks on the thing. And he's like, hey, don't do the thing. Don't kill those people.
Yeah.
Just like waving his arm.
Please don't. I think that's a signal for kill. All right. Oh, no. And then we get the payoff of all of the confessions where finally he takes it seriously and he takes a knee and he's like, bless me, Father, for I've sinned. It all comes back. Yeah,
he's like, horrible caring about people, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the father's like, what? He's like, forgive me, I've sinned. Amen.
Forgiven.
Yeah, and then he kisses the priest's hand. It's very sexy.
That's what you did back then.
Yeah.
And then we get a quote there from William Hurt there. Only love is immortal, Your Majesty.
Stupid.
All right, then we're
Julie Andrews taking us home.
Yeah, we're back at the sea here. We get some book flipping. Narrator kicks in. Julie Andrews, bringing it home. They go on a trip to find the city of Atlantis, right?
Yes. Now the princess and her man, they take to the sea to search for Atlantis with their friend, the magical mermaid, which they literally say.
Yep.
Like, okie dokie.
And then they're in like a little tiny boat and they kiss. And then she jumps into the water.
Yep.
And a pop song kicks on.
Mm-hmm.
She basically goes for a swim with her new mermaid friend and gets a tour of the city of Atlantis.
Yep. And then the fairy tale book comes back onto the screen and says, the end is just the beginning.
The end is just the beginning.
I sure hope not. This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
This is like maybe one of the worst movies. Bottom 5 for us, for sure.
Yeah, this is pretty bad. I can see why they're having such a hard time releasing it.
Yeah. Redeeming factor, it's an hour and a half.
I feel like maybe it also got tough because I bet like Pierce Brosnan's people were like, yeah, you know what? Just don't release this one.
Right. And the way that this movie ended too, I was like, it kind of tricked me because it got into the credits and I was like, I wonder if they do a credits bit. And then it got into the credits and it immediately cut to what I thought was an ad, but it wasn't. It was just Judge Judy. It played Judge Judy after.
Oh yeah, that's what it's going to do. Yeah, it was like
it played Judge Judy for you too, right?
Well, I saw in the corner and I was like, what the fuck is that? I said continue and I was like, oh, it's counting down. Oh, it's going to boot me to the next thing. I was like, why do I want to watch Judge Judy right now?
I don't know.
So I backed out and just watched the credits for a little bit and then I was like, all right, I'm done.
Yep. And that's it. What a horrible movie.
Yeah, that was yeah. Like I understand it's a movie for, young adults, if not younger, but you can make good movies for them too, right?
Yeah, kids are fucking stupid, but they're not that stupid.
Most of the times the parents have to, well, I guess this is one you put on, like you don't have to worry about it. Like you just let the
I guess so, yeah.
I don't know. Jesus. Christmas.
Hate all of it.
Yeah, and just like the editing was so painful.
Yeah. Listeners, sometimes we'll tell you like, that movie stunk, but it was a fun ride. I recommend check it out because like you have a good laugh, have a little drinking game with your friends or something.
Yeah.
This one, no, skip it entirely, please.
Yes.
Unless you're like the biggest Pierce Brosnan fan on earth,
or the biggest William Hurt fan on the planet.
Sure, you're a William Hurt completionist. Got to see his last flick.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine.
Completionist.
Well, he's dead now.
Yes.
He is completed.
Yes. Yeah.
Otherwise, don't bother, please.
It took me so long to get through this because it was cutting so quickly, but yeah.
Well, and that's why I just gave up on pausing. And I was like, I'm not going to pause. I'm just going to, I'll get what I get and I won't get upset.
I wouldn't have had any notes, I think, if I did that. But
I mean, yeah, I somehow managed 15 pages of notes. I think this episode ended up being shorter than the last one we did, than Friendsgiving. And Friendsgiving, I only had like 11 pages of notes. So,
oh my God.
Like I tried to like stream of consciousness follow this one because that's all you could do.
Oh, yeah.
Hated it.
Hated it.
Would not recommend.
Nope. Do not recommend. All right. Well, I don't know. Is that it?
I guess so.
Let's bring it on home.
Might as well.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back next week with a new movie. Last movie of 2022, I believe.
That's right. The ITMT Christmas special where we decide that to do a movie that y'all like that we do not.
Yes. So stay tuned for that because that's always fun.
Yeah. Love Actually, great success from last year. Go listen to that if you haven't already. But stay tuned for what we're going to pick this time.
It's going to be awesome. But in the meantime, while you're waiting for all of that, you can follow us on Instagram at It's This Meets That, right? TMTPod on Twitter, and subscribe wherever you're listening.
Yep. And while you're subscribing, you can also be reviewing. You can write us a nice little comment or something. Give us a mean comment, maybe. But either way, 5 stars would be nice. It helps other people discover us on the algorithm. We got a little teaser for Instagram content. Speaking of Instagram, Russ, we increased our listenership on Spotify by 25% last year.
What?
Which is, I think, pretty good.
I think that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. Some say 25% increase in listeners is okay.
Yeah. Come on.
But it's because of the people like you who review us. So leave us 5 stars and that helps a lot. Or send us an email if you want to say, fuck you in so many words and the reviews don't let you. Write us an email. You're allowed to say whatever you want in emails.
Do it.
Yeah, no rules. You can say literally anything. Sell us meat. Talk about meat. Remember like the butcher guy?
Oh yeah.
Do that stuff. We like that. It's thismeetsthat@gmail.com or go to the website. We've got all the information, all kinds of other stuff, all the old episodes, all the future stuff, the once and future website where we're going to have games and safety tips and books.
So much stuff. So much shenanigans.
It's thismeetsthat.com.